Hello and welcome to Hadoop Exam Learning Resources. In this session, we will be covering the Python programming. In previous session, we have done installation of the Anaconda to work on Python, and we have done some basic hands-ons. Now, in this module, we will be doing more little bit advanced Python programming. Not very advanced, but it's just to get introduced again with the concepts of Python programming. So it's very similar to any other programming language. If you're comfortable with any other programming language, then it would be very easy for you to learn. So in this we'll cover this this topic actually. So let's save the time. We'll not go through this entire topic list one by one. We'll cover and then we'll go. So what is the function? Function is a collection of multiple statement, and you can find in almost all programming language. You will be declaring or defining once and use it in future code. So this is here, the print is a function name. Where is the definition of this function? We don't know right now, correct? We are using this function just for our purpose. So how this function is internally works, kind of thing, where it is written, it is not known to you, correct, right now. So because Python has implemented their own this functions right now, don't worry how it is implemented. We will implement few functions in the just few minutes, and then you will learn more about this. Okay, so let me paste here this, and you see like sorry, again this is double okay, so the double quotation is not coming properly here. So this is the function. It's just here hadoopexam.com, just type in. So you can see this is the print function we have called here, and type2 is another function here. Okay, correct. So this is the what is the data type of type2. So this is here, you see print and type both are the function, any value you see, and we are calling the function. We are not defining any functions right now. So arguments and return values, the name of the function is type and print. Here as I mentioned, the expression in parenthesis is called the argument of the function. So here the value, this is the one of the argument here, this is another argument of the function. So this is whatever between the parenthesis you provide, that is known as argument. Okay, it is a common to say that function takes one or more argument and returns a result. Okay, so here what it is returning in this case, this whatever you're providing as an input, it is also printing the same value, is actually not returning the value, but let's see, it's printing some value. It not necessarily every function will return a value. Some function return a value. So like in this case, it is returning a value. What it is returning, what is the data type of this value that inside provided, it actually printing, it is not returning any value, but this function is actually returning the value. Okay, so now the result is also called the return value. Some function may or may not return a value, depend. Okay, so like print here, exactly not returning a value, it's printing the value. So let me give this example, int 1 point this value, what exactly it is going to do here. Okay, so here it say it's convert the value whatever you are providing inside this needs to be converted into an integer. Let me try something like this. So yes, it I have provided as a string as a 2, and it had converted into integer value actually, correct, you can see here. So this is the value it has converting, but I believe it would not be able to convert this value to integer, because the functions which is defined by Python will take only one argument, and here what we are trying to do to this, we are providing 3 argument as a input, so it is not successful. So here again 2 argument, it is not successful. This functions can take only one argument as an input, so that is the restriction. Similarly here, for if I use this, then what happens here, it say it would remove the floating point part of the values here, integer it converts into, it is at 27, and then what is the expected output here, 3 raised to power 3, so 27, but I want to convert into the floating point, so it should be a 20. Okay, so what is happening, I got actually why I'm not able to, because my mouse remains here, and this copy paste here, so that's the reason it is a problem. It's not control C is a problem. Okay, so now you can see here, so let me minimize this shell first. Okay, so floating 3 raised to power 3 is 27, and now I'm saying convert 27 into a floating point. So Getting my point correct here? If I say 3 raised to power 3 equals to 27. Now I wanted to say convert this whatever result is produced by this expression into the floating point. So it would convert into this, correct? So that is what it is doing. Now let's move to the next part here. A float, this is string. So what you are expecting here? 7.0, correct? So now it's correctly copied. Actually, if my mouse remains over this now, then it is a problem here. Okay, so it's not an issue. So now string 2, now convert integer to string. So it would now convert it to a string. We have previously done other way around, in string to integer, correct? So that is what. So these are the some functions. This is like provided inbuilt by Python. Now mathematical functions. Python has a math module. What is the module? I'll tell you right now. That provides most of the familiar mathematical function. If you want to do many mathematical things like finding the logarithmic value and kind of thing, what is the pi value and kind of thing. So how would you get it? So there is a one module is Python provides. That module contains all the functions related to the basic mathematics. Okay, so module is a collection of functions, you can assume it. Okay, so let me draw and then it would be more clear. I would say this is a math module, and this module has various functions. Let's say pi is defined here. I would say how to get the log 10 value, how to get square root value. So this is all functions have been defined in like uh, many other functions like kind of thing, finding sine value of anything, cos value, 10 value kind of thing. So this is all defined in this math module. So one module is collection of functions plus some variables. So here I've given some functions and it also can contain some variables. Okay, so so if you want to use this module in your Python programming, if I want to use in this command prompt whatever you are working, you have to import this. By default it is not available. You have to import this module first and then you can use this function. So let me try and give you an example here. If I try this math.log10, then what is the output here? It will give error. What error? Name math is not defined. Why? Because it is by default it is not available. You have to first import it, this as I mentioned here. Okay, so what I'll do this, I'll import, this is the syntax math module, importing the math module. So let's copy and paste here. Sorry, again same mistake. Import math module. Now you can see what is the math here. If I type it, it says module math. It is a built-in. Built-in means it is available by Python, but not third-party module. It's by default available in Python and you are using this module. So math.log10, now it should give the result, correct? Again same, I have to copy it again. So now you can see log10 of 100 value is 2.0, correct? So that is what it is provided. Previously it gave us error because this module is not available. Similarly math.pi value, if I wanted to get the pi value, then it should print the pi value here. Square root of 100 math dot. So whenever if you want to use modules functions, then you have to first use the module name, then dot, then its function whatever inside this module is there, correct? So you can use this. So math dot square root is 10.0. So that is what how you import a module. We will be keep importing the various modules when work with the in advanced Python programming. So we'll see once we will do advanced. So here, so what is the composition? Composition is like just composing some value, providing expressions. So one of the most useful features of programming language is that their ability to take small building blocks and compose them. So you can see this is the expression we have taken into the print function. It will resolve this value entirely and then it will, so this is a composition inside the functions which we are using it. Okay, so let me copy and paste this, and here. So what your answer you are expecting? Can you think of this? So it is minus 66. Okay, so how it got it? Actually 2 raised to power 2 first is has done 4, correct, 4, and then mm, then everything is addition. 4 plus 10 is 14, and then plus 20 34, and then minus 100. So it's a minus 66 is the value. Okay, so similarly is in this composition what we are doing, first do the mathematical operation this. So this would print 4.0, correct, because this value will derive 2 and then multiplied by 2, so that is a floating point number it will be producing. So it should be 4.0, correct. Now how to create your own functions? Now that is very important. We will be creating a lot of our own functions. So if you want to create a functions, just you have to use the define keyword first. I'm going to define a function, so just define here space, then name of the functions, whatever name you want to give. I'll give the name of the functions here, this from this here. If my functions takes input as an some argument as an input, then I have to provide in this state value. But right now let's define a function without an input, and then give the colon here and then enter. Okay, so remember here when you define the function, you have to give colon at the end of the parenthesis, and then you have to give indentation. So this is 3 dot by default automatically created here. Then we will just putting some print statement inside this. Okay, now this what it is doing, actually it is giving an error. Why? That's what I wanted to show you here, because you cannot define, you must have proper indentations here in the Python. So Python is that is the different thing which I'm not very comfortable with indentation, but that's way the Python works actually here this. And then I would use tab here as an indentation. Okay, so you have to, until you want your functions to get finished, you have to keep use the indentations. Okay, enter again tab. I wanted all this line to be part of my functions, so you can put the space as well, or you can use tab. So I would prefer tab actually in my case. Okay, so this is all line is defined inside the functions. So sorry, this will give error again if I miss this tab, this tab again. So don't miss the tab. That's the reason I'm not very comfortable with indentation in the Python. Okay, so now we are done with the till. So we have defining the function here, and whatever task we wanted to do in this functions, we are giving it to this, and this function will do these things. And so let's to end the functions, give the empty line here. So we are done with the defining the function. So let's say if I just say, okay, this is the name of the function. If I put this, what it does is actually, so this says this is a functions, name of the function is print welcome message. Okay, so this is the location on the Python memory, don't worry. So now call this functions. Whenever if you want to call the functions, you have to use the parenthesis at the end of the function, so then only it would be able to call, correct. So just copy and okay, I have to copy it again, correct. And then what this function is going to do, this function will go inside this and see I have to do this all activity, so it will print this all 5 statement, correct. So let's do this and just enter. So what it has done, it has printed all 5 string, because I have given responsibility to this functions to do this task, correct. So if I want to change the function, I have to define it again, correct. So suppose if I want to change the functions, so let's say go to the define, just enter tab, then print and say I'm learning function definition creation. Now definition of our function has changed. Now if I call this functions as previously we have called, what it would do, it will print this statement now. Correct, I'm learning functions. So I've changed the definition of the function. So whenever you want to change or create a new function, you have to define it again. So this way we have created. So define is a keyword, indicates that the function definition. Print welcome message, name of the functions. Arguments, as we don't have any argument to these functions right now, but the empty parenthesis after the name indicates that the function doesn't take any arguments. Header, the first line of this, so this entire line is known as a header of the function. Okay, and body, obviously the entire part here, it is known as the body of the functions. To end the function, you have to enter an empty line, as we have done. Correct. So now let's write the entire program here. Okay, let me copy and paste. Whether it work or not, I'm not sure, because indentation is proper or not. Okay, so that's what I was in doubt. There was an indentation issue. So let's define this function. Tab, tab, each line and tab. If in any other programming language like Java or something, you don't have to wait for the space and kind of thing. This is whatever you put in the bracket would work. So that is I don't like from the Python, this indentation, frankly, but that is way the programming language has been written. So that's all. So that is the function has been defined. Now print message more than once. What I'll do, I'll define another functions. What it does, it will create, it will call this functions which we have previously created, and then again print empty line, and again call this method twice. So what happens is, actually first message functions will call this part, and then second part is also being called. Getting my point here, correct? This functions. So let me define this function again. Tab, okay, then this line, then tab. Okay, if you use good editor, then you tab web, you don't have to do this. Actually in the command prompt you have to do this. So as we move ahead, we will be using some better editor to work on Python, so that would be very comfortable. So now we have defined second functions. Now we will call this function. Okay, so what it does is, actually technically speaking, it will call this functions, it will print 5 lines, then call this function, print empty line, then call this function, again print this 5 lines. Correct. So let's do. Okay, so you can see here, welcome Python learning for data scientists, then empty line, then again welcome Python learning for data scientists. So that's way it has printed here this statement. Correct. So that is how we can call one functions from another functions. Actually that is possible. Even one same function can call another function. So let me tell you the definition, but that is very challenge. Okay, so let me do this thing. Okay, okay, copy this line, define a functions, tab, print, and put some bracket here. Sorry, adobeexam.com. that is very important concept, actually. That's the reason I'm showing you. Sorry, tab, and then call this function itself again. What happens then, we will see. Then enter. Now try to call this function. What happens? You can see, if I call this functions, it will print this line, and this function again call itself again, print this line again, then call again. So it continuously call running. Correct. Infinite functions. So that is one. This concept is known as recursion, actually calling the same functions, but there has to be a termination condition, but here we are not. So here you can see it's a continuously printing, and what happens is print message more than once, because what it is saying, there is an some most recent call last. So it has continuously called infinite loop, but it automatically failed itself because it is out of memory kind of thing, if you see. So runtime error, maximum recursion depth exceeded. So there is a one depth defined by the Python. You cannot keep calling the methods in the recursion. Okay, so this you can call the method which you have defined, that is known as recursion. Okay, we will go ahead learn more about recursion in future sessions. So you have created function, you have to create a function before you want to use it. So this is a without argument function we have. Now let's define a function with the argument. Okay, so this is the function to do it 10 times. Okay, so we are defining a function which take as a one value as an argument. Okay, I think I have to go in Python once again because it is skilled Python session. Okay, so now do it 10 times, then tab. What we wanted to print 10 times the value whatever you are providing as an input. So here, so now value is a variable, correct? This is an argument, correct? So you can pass any value here and that would be 10 times repeated here, correct? So that is an argument, one argument function this is. So I would say do it 10 times and say do it 10 times Hadoop exam.com. So what it has done is actually printed 10 times. I'll better give the space so it would be more clear. So it has printed 10 times the value whatever we have given. So this is one argument value. So similarly these are the functions which you can, with the way we have called these functions. Okay, so do it 10 times, so it will print 7 10 times, correct? Sorry, you can see here, sorry, that is the trick here, not trick, I would say. Python is like it sees this value is an integer, correct? So it will do the multiplication. If that is a string, then only it reports 10 times, correct? So that is good things which we have seen here in this example. So it will do, so in this case here John is the string, so it should actually what it does is actually it has to print John, I would say space 10 times, correct? Similarly do it 10 times this 4.0 value, but it should, what is you are expecting now, it should print 40 or 4 10 times, sorry 20 or 2 10 times. What it does is actually should print 20. Okay, math.log 10. Okay, so this call math is not defined. Okay, so log function we are using, we are out of Python shell, so we have to import the math because we are using the function log, correct? So now we have imported the math, then do this. So now it prints 20.0, correct? So now you see the like how we missed the import here in the new shell and it gives the error kind of thing. Now multiple argument functions here, like we will do argument, and what it does is addition of these functions. Okay, so let's define a functions which take 2 arguments. Tab, print a plus b. I would suggest you do the initial practice on this command prompt only, because it will tell you the basic syntax actually. So here we are providing 2 arguments a comma b, and what we want both the arguments to be get added here. So just call these functions with this 2 value. So it should print 5. If I say welcome John, so what it say welcome John, it would print because both are the string, and this is one is integer and another string. Then if you use plus operator, then it should definitely fail because you cannot do the addition with the string, correct? Mathematical operation, how would it does? So it will say unsupported operands type for plus one is an integer and another is a string, so how can it does be possible, correct? Now local scope of the parameters, so another functions we will define here. This is I'll show you what exactly that means. Okay, so let's say we define this functions user1 and user2, 2 arguments it's taking. Tab, create a one local message variable here, and what it does is actually u1 plus u2. U1 is not correct, actually we have to do user1 plus user2. Okay, so let me do this here. user1 plus and plus user2, correct, and then and the function. Oh sorry, we forgot to call this. Okay, again define this functions, this, then next line tab, copy this line, enter, then print this local message, tab, enter, enter. So now if I would call this method print name and provide two argument, user1 Rakesh comma Lokesh, correct. So what it does is actually it would should print Rakesh and Lokesh, correct. So it's better we will give space here, so it will print better. So Rakesh and Lokesh would be printed here. Okay, so now the important point here I wanted to show you, local message variable you have created inside the function, correct. So this variable is local to this function, it is not available outside of this function. If you try to use this variable here, it will say local message is not defined. So any variable you define inside the method, first time you create inside the method, it is local to this method. You can do anything inside the method but with this variable, but you cannot do anything outside this variable, if outside of this method of this variable, because it is not global variable, that is local variable to this functions only. Okay, remember this point. So parameter local message will not be available once the functions complete. Okay, functions with return values. Now till now we have defined all the functions which doesn't return any value, which just print the value. Print is not a returning a value, I'll tell you, it's just printing on the screen, that's all, but it is not return a value. So that let's define a functions with return a value. Okay, so add 2 comma 3, if I do, it's a mathematical functions. Okay, it's a numpy, it's from the numpy. If let me check if the mathematics add function is there, add is not defined, so we will import another third party library, that is numpy, and from numpy we will import only one method. Okay, so again let me clean it out here. Numpy is one module which has add method inside this. Define any other methods also define in this. Now what we want to use in our command prompt, this add method, correct. This is our command prompt, we want to use this add method here from the numpy. So what we can do, either import the entire numpy, or we can just import add method from this numpy. So that is better way. If you don't whatever things you needed, just import that. So the syntax is from numpy, it's a module name, from module name import the function name add. So it would import only add functions, correct. So let's copy this and use this, and we'll see if numpy is available, because if you have not used anaconda, then it numpy might not available, you have to download the numpy, then you have to install it. So that is the beauty of anaconda, all the library which you need is already available. So let's type add here. So sorry, not 3 times, so it will say it is a functions add. Okay, so now if I say add 2 comma 3, it's written a value as well, correct. So if I say add 2 comma 3, it will return some value 5. Okay, so it's a return a value. Okay, right now don't worry, right now x equals to return. So what x would contain, x equals to 5. Okay, similarly math dot square root, it's math library, square root functions return a value of the square root, that is 3. So then y should be having 3 value, correct here. So why, so value which is, so this function square root and add function return a value. So we have defined the functions which does not return a value, but there is a way, we'll learn in the future session how to define a function which return a value, correct. So right now leave it here, which is we have spent quite a good amount time on programming. So I would suggest you do a lot of practice with the Python programming, so you will learn the concepts, because programming language needs practice. That's as I previously mentioned. So that's all about this. Thanks for watching, and if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe it, and if you like this session, give thumbs up of this session. We'll be keep adding new more, few more, like not few, a lot of sessions regarding Python, data science, deep learning, machine learning kind of thing in future. So keep subscribe us with us, and don't forget to go to the hardupexam.com. This is our site where we have a lot of material related to the big data, cloud computing, data science, etc. So you can subscribe it if you want it, and if you want to just want to get regular update, just subscribe, put your name and email ID here, and you will get notifications whenever we add new module kind of thing. So thanks for watching, and I hope you like this session.